One of the most ubiquitous and often comical aspects of growing up in an African household is the constant emphasis placed on reading books. Whether it's your mother or father, you'll undoubtedly hear the phrase, "read your book," echoing throughout the house, particularly when you're supposed to be studying, or in some cases, even when you're supposed to be relaxing. The obsession with reading is deeply embedded in African culture, and it's a value that has been passed down through generations. While this might seem like an innocuous habit, for many young people, it often feels like a daunting expectation, a constant pressure that seems to take precedence over everything else in life. But where does this obsession with reading come from? And what does it really mean for African parents to push their children towards reading? In this exploration, we'll look into the reasons behind this obsession and how it shapes the lives of many young people across the continent and the diaspora. Channel 1. The desire for academic excellence. The foremost reason why African parents push their children to read books is the belief that academic success is the key to a better life. For many African families, education is not just a way to secure a job. It is seen as a means of social mobility and an escape from poverty. It's a belief rooted in the idea that academic excellence will provide stability, respect, and opportunities that may not have been available to previous generations. The pressure to read, therefore, is directly linked to the pressure to perform well in school. African parents often see reading as the foundational activity that drives academic success. Whether it's studying textbooks, reading supplementary material, or practicing past exam questions, the act of reading is viewed as central to understanding the world and excelling in life. Parents often push their children to read because they believe it will not only increase their chances of getting high grades, but will also prepare them for the competitive job market. They see reading as a way to equip their children with the knowledge and skills necessary for success, hoping they will break free from the cycle of poverty that many have struggled with for years. 2. The legacy of struggle and resilience. For many African parents, the importance of reading is deeply personal. In many African countries, previous generations faced severe educational and economic challenges. The older generation often had to contend with limited access to quality education, political instability, and economic hardship. Many parents, therefore, see education as a privilege, something that their children should not take for granted. Reading books, especially educational ones, is seen as a way to honor the struggles of their parents and grandparents. There's a desire to ensure that the children are able to have the opportunities that their parents did not have. This generational expectation is not just about personal achievement, but also about honoring the sacrifices made by the previous generation. Parents want their children to use education as a means to improve their own lives, and by extension, the lives of their families. This sentiment often stems from the notion that education is the key to success, especially in societies where opportunities were limited for the previous generation. The emphasis on reading, therefore, comes from a desire to equip their children with the tools to succeed in a world that is constantly changing and becoming more competitive. 3. Cultural emphasis on knowledge and wisdom. In many African cultures, knowledge and wisdom are highly valued. Elders are respected not only for their life experiences, but also for the knowledge they have gained over time. In African societies, there is often a deep reverence for learning and the preservation of wisdom, whether it's passed down orally or through written records. This respect for knowledge is reflected in the way parents view education and reading. In some African cultures, oral traditions were the primary means of passing down knowledge, and elders would pass on wisdom through storytelling, proverbs, and historical narratives. However, in modern society, books have become the vessel for knowledge, and reading is seen as the modern way to acquire the wisdom of the past while navigating the complexities of the present and future. African parents often want their children to excel not just academically, but intellectually as well. They want their children to be knowledgeable, well-rounded individuals who are able to engage in meaningful conversations, critically analyze situations, and make informed decisions. In this context, reading is not just about academic success, but also about personal growth and the development of an individual's intellectual capacity. 4. Fear of uncertainty and the need for security. Another reason why African parents obsess over reading books is their deep-rooted fear of uncertainty. In many African countries, political instability, economic struggles, and job market volatility can make it difficult to plan for the future. For many parents, ensuring that their children read and perform well in school is seen as a way of mitigating this uncertainty. Education is seen as the most reliable way to ensure that children are not left vulnerable in a constantly shifting environment. Reading is perceived as a way to create a stable future, a means of securing good jobs that offer financial security and social status. This fear of uncertainty often leads to an overemphasis on reading and academic success, as it is seen as the safest path towards stability and upward mobility. African parents may also be influenced by the societal notion that the more educated you are, the more opportunities you have, and the more respected you become. The pursuit of education, therefore, becomes a response to the uncertainty of life, a strategy for achieving a sense of security and control over one's future. 5. The overemphasis on formal education. In many African households, formal education, particularly through reading, is seen as the primary route to success. African parents often place little value on other forms of learning, such as apprenticeships or vocational training, especially when compared to the academic pathway. This is often due to the belief that formal education is the most reliable and respected way to achieve success. While this focus on formal education has undoubtedly led to great achievements in many African communities, it also creates pressure for children to conform to a specific educational track. The obsession with reading and academic success can sometimes overshadow the importance of developing practical skills, emotional intelligence, and life experiences that are also important for success. The overemphasis on formal education also creates a situation where children feel that their worth is defined solely by their academic achievements. In many cases, this can lead to high levels of stress and burnout, especially for those who struggle to meet their parents' expectations. 6. The role of African parents in shaping career choices. Another key factor in the obsession with reading books is that African parents often view education as the gateway to certain professions that are considered prestigious. Doctors, engineers, lawyers, and professors are frequently seen as the ultimate career goals, and reading is viewed as the only path to achieving these roles. This focus on prestigious careers often means that children are expected to read and excel in academic subjects that will allow them to pursue these high-status careers. The notion of reading books becomes less about intellectual curiosity and more about achieving a specific outcome, obtaining a high-paying job with social respect. This creates tension for many children who may not have the same passion for these careers, but feel pressured to pursue them in order to meet their parents' expectations. This pressure can sometimes lead to frustration and rebellion, as children struggle to balance their own interests with their parents' aspirations for them. 7. The social pressure of keeping up. In many African communities, there is a strong sense of social comparison. Parents often feel pressure to ensure that their children excel in education so that they do not fall behind their peers. Reading books and excelling in school becomes a way to keep up with the Joneses. It's not just about personal success. It's about maintaining social status and ensuring that one's children are seen as successful in the eyes of the community. This social pressure can lead to a situation where academic success becomes a measure of a child's worth, and children are often pushed to excel, sometimes to the point of exhaustion, in order to meet societal expectations. The obsession with reading books, in this case, can become less about personal development and more about maintaining or enhancing the family's reputation within the community. The obsession that African parents have with reading books is rooted in a combination of cultural values, generational struggles, and a desire for stability and success. It's a reflection of the importance placed on education as a means of escaping poverty, gaining respect, and ensuring a better future. While this emphasis on reading can lead to academic success and provide opportunities, it can also create pressure for children who may feel overwhelmed by the high expectations placed upon them. At its core, the obsession with reading is driven by love, care, and the hope that children will succeed. However, as with any cultural practice, it's important to find balance, encouraging children to read for personal growth, intellectual curiosity, and emotional well-being, as well as academic success. By understanding the deeper motivations behind this obsession, African parents can foster an environment where reading is valued, not just as a means to an end, but as a lifelong habit that enriches the mind and soul.